Hello and welcome to At the Red Line Podcast. My name is Alec Gonzalez. I'm a life coach and spiritual director for business leaders and pastors, and I love to work with salespeople. I have with me Jelynne. I forgot the last name.
Dimitrova. Yes.
Dimitrova. Jelynne runs with her husband a driving school, and we'll get to that later. I like to start at the beginning.
Okay.
Jelynne, where were you born? What was it like when you were little? What's your family life? Your memories of childhood, that kind of thing.
Okay.
How many siblings?
I was born in the Philippines.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Where in the Philippines? I have a good friend that lives and works
Bataan.
Bataan.
Yes, Zambales. So, which is north.
Okay.
Yeah.
How fun.
Yeah. And then I am a Navy brat. So after I was born, when I was 1, I moved to a U.S. territory.
Uh-huh.
And we lived all over the Pacific Rim
Uh-huh.
until about, I would say, 10. And then we end up settling at Long Beach, California.
Long Beach.
Yeah.
I spent 5 years in Long Beach as a little
Oh,
kid.
Nice.
Yeah. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and then I have 2 brothers, Randy and Mark.
uh-huh.
And we grew up in a pretty turbulent time, in a sense, because Long Beach at the time wasn't that great.
Okay.
It was not the ghetto, but pretty damn close to the ghetto.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I lived on Stern Street. I don't know if that means anything
I
to
don't
you.
remember where Stern
Yeah.
Street is, no.
Yeah.
So, but we lived in the west side of Long Beach, so very heavy gangs,
Oh,
teenage
okay.
pregnancy.
Kind of ghetto, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
You steered clear though? You didn't get sucked in?
no, I had a very strong family. I have 100 family members in a 5-mile radius.
100 family members in a 5-mile
Yeah.
radius. Holy moly.
Yeah, so when you get grounded, you don't get grounded with your parents. You get grounded with the whole family.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So even to this day, I'm still mocked over Paula Abdul and how I racked up the phone lines, and I think my family had to pay like $100 so I can hear her voice.
Oh, that's so awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I lean into a couple of questions other than childhood and family. And one is about trouble and difficulty and how it's shaped you and created within you whatever you want to share.
Yeah, one thing was my career. So when I was in college, I would say a semester before I was going to graduate, my parents brought my brother and I. It was during Christmas, and they said, "We're filing bankruptcy, and one of you has to drop out of school."
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's brutal.
And so I was the oldest, and I was going to graduate, but my brother was a freshman. But I know me, and so I decided to drop out, and I moved to Boston. And because of that decision, I greatly paid for it with my career. I eventually got into human resources, but I got passed over quite a bit because I didn't have that bachelor's degree,
Ah.
And so what I ended up doing was I took certificate programs or certification programs of whatever I could afford,
Uh-huh.
300, a couple of thousand, because I could afford that,
Right.
not necessarily tuition. And so I got all these like certificates and certification. And then I eventually did get my master's. And just recently I got my master's
Oh, nice.
in human resources management.
Good for you.
So it was definitely a really tough, I would say, 15 years of my human resources career because I didn't have that degree. So now it's kind of funny. I was doing this speech, and someone got my LinkedIn profile, and they're like, "Oh, here's Jelynne, certified in all this stuff, and has her master's and all this." And I was just like, I remember looking at it, and I'm like, really? I'm that qualified?
That's awesome. Oh, that's so cool.
So it eventually paid off,
Oh, that's so cool.
But it was definitely troubling during
Okay.
the early years of my career.
Nice. That's a great story. And it's a great story of how difficulty and trouble and even trauma
Yes.
can really, work out for good. Nice.
Yeah.
So the other thing I like to lean into before we get to the business conversations is, of course, I'm a life coach. I love to work with people. Not everybody's had a life coach, but most of us have stories of a mentor or a person who paid attention and just was around and helped nurture and grow and kind of make us into the people we are. I wonder if you have a story of someone like that.
Yeah, yes, a couple of people, but one person that stands out in my mind is Kate Ford Harkis. So, she was in my life where, I didn't have my bachelor's degree, right? And I remember one of my one-on-one meetings is she asked me, like, where do you see your career trajectory? And I said, well, I want to be a VP of HR one day. And then she goes, okay, so in order to do that, you need to get your SHRM SCP, which is the Society of Human Resources Senior Certified Professional, and you need to get a master's degree as well as work experience. And so she gave me a direction,
Yeah.
and that's what I did, at least in my HR career,
Nice.
So definitely I owe her quite a bit of my career because of her. And also, I would say another mentor or support would be the couplings. So Jennifer and Eric, they're my aunt and uncle. They live in Bremerton. And so they, they were like my second parents. So whatever I'm dealing with at the time, they were always there, even from a distance.
Yeah.
And so I would say their support has definitely helped.
Sometimes just having someone who listens and they're in your corner.
Exactly.
Like they're not going to go, no, what a dummy. Or if they do, that they'll have empathy in their voice for you.
That is true.
Yeah.
So
that's so good. That's so good. Okay. Moving to your business. We met at Friday Conversations, which is a networking group for small business owners downtown, run at the Dry Fly, which is so awesome. If you guys are available at 1:00 on Fridays and you like good pizza, because the pizza's awesome.
It's fantastic.
And they serve it at no charge, so it's really, really fun. But there's always some good conversations. We met there, and you run a business that I'd like you to talk about, origin story, and what you're proud of, and who your perfect client is.
Okay.
Problems you solve. Why you stand out.
Yeah. So we own a driving school called Precision Driving Academy in Liberty Lake. The origin story is kind of funny. The idea came because we had dinner with friends.
Yeah.
Ultimately, our son was 14 at the time, and they said, well, you need to enroll your kid in driving school because it's an 8-month waiting period.
At 14?
Yeah, at 14. And I was like, what?
8 months of waiting?
Yeah, and I'm like, no way. And anyway, as our friends are explaining this, my husband that was right next to me, he goes under his breath, well, that's a business opportunity.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so anyway, we kind of, I looked into it. They were right. It's 8 months if they were taking a wait list. And we decided, we'll just keep it in the back of our minds, Well, what ended up happening is my husband, he was in this particular job, and he just hated it,
He hated his job?
Yeah, and I said, you know what? Go find yourself.
Yeah.
I'm stable. Go find yourself, whatever that may be. So, anyway, he ended up meeting with an old client of his, and this guy he's put it this way, he's well off, and my husband knew that, and he was planning to offer my husband a job, but before he offered it, he asked my husband, so what do you see yourself doing? He goes, well, I think I want to own a driving school. And so he takes a moment, he busts out his wallet, and he's flipping through his wallet, and he got this instructor card. And he goes, for fun, I'm a driving instructor.
A very wealthy guy
Yeah.
instructing teenagers how to drive?
I was like,
how weird is that?
if I was a millionaire, why would I do that for fun, But he was,
that reminds me of that cop who's really, really, really rich. Like, why would you be a cop if you had all this money?
yeah, exactly.
Maybe it's just a little adrenaline rush,
That was my understanding, yes. So anyway, connected him to the path. And then from there, we just try to figure it out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, you were talking a little before while we were hanging out before the podcast that you sort of focus your work in Liberty Lake or out in the valley.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yeah. So, when we were establishing this business, we're trying to figure out what is the best location, who is our target. And we decided it's going to be Liberty Lake after our market research. So part of it was because of the new high school at the time, which is Ridgeline High School.
Ridgeline?
Ridgeline, yes.
Ridgeline, okay.
So
if you go to high school at Ridgeline High School and you're thinking about getting a driver's license, all right.
So
sorry, I have to interrupt. It's kind of my thing.
So we took a number of those factors. We also live we live 2 blocks away from Liberty Lake as well, so we're very familiar with the area and what is needed.
Oh, nice.
And so we decided to focus on that particular high school, and then we just found a really great location in the central area of Liberty Lake. And we just kind of hope for the best, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Nice.
So,
you were telling me something earlier that I thought was really interesting is you're sort of the boutique.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
So, we did our market research once again, and we know what the other driving schools are doing, and since we've established there has been some new driving schools as well. But how do we stand out? How do people come to us? So what was really important is brand recognition. When they think of driving school, especially in Liberty Lake, I hope they can think of Precision Driving Academy. And so we take a lot of pride in our work. The teens that go through our program, we feel like it's our kids, and we treat them as our kids in a sense. Nice. We're teaching them a new skill, and then we also celebrate with them. Yeah. So if you go on our social media, one of the things we stand out is when they pass their driver's test, they hold a sign that says, "I passed my driving exam," and then we also expand it where they finished driver's ed, they had their first drive, because those moments, it's a celebration. It's terrifying. They're behind this 1-ton car that they can potentially hurt people. But and we wanted to give them the skills to not only be successful, but to be confident, and also how to maintain their car. Right. So that's why we wanted to stand out and be that boutique. Good. And then another thing that we pride ourselves is that, we didn't want to teach driver's ed how we learned 30, 40 years ago. So we wanted to design our program based how kids learn today, which is reels, PDFs, short, digestible topics that they can comprehend and then hopefully replicate as well.
Nice. Who's a perfect client? Who are you really hoping would send you a text and say?
I would say everybody, but our the bulk of our business is really teen driving. Yeah. So it would be a teen that's ready to drive, excited to drive. That's the number one. But we've also extend our services to people that has recently relocated either from another country or from another state.
Yeah.
Whether it's testing or whether it's giving them the skills in their language.
Oh, nice.
So that's one thing I'm not sure if I mentioned to you.
No.
So, both my husband and I are immigrants, and what we notice is that language is a huge barrier.
Yeah.
And so, our website, depending on what language, you can translate it based on the language that you speak or understand. Same thing with our student portal. We can conduct 15 languages in our knowledge written test. And then the skills test, we can do 86 languages.
How cool is that?
So we wanted to capture that market as well.
That is so good. Okay, so how would someone get a hold of you? And do you have a waiting period, or are you taking clients?
Yes, we are taking clients. We don't have a wait list per se, but we are pretty much almost booked up, definitely for the summer. So I would say give us a call, text us at 509-255-3248. You can also go on our online.
Are you guys planning to scale? Have you got some teachers lined up? Are you going to grow?
We have a few things in mind, so we're just waiting on a few things to pull the trigger.
Okay.
We've also are planning to extend our services to defensive driving as well, primarily for insurance.
Okay.
And then hopefully if people have infractions that we can be that preferred vendor as well. So we have a few things in the pipeline.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'd never heard of those things, but that's a lot. That's a lot. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. I can't wait to put this out there and give you a chance to share it. If you are thinking about going to driving school, or your kids are thinking about going to driving school, I'd love it if you give them a call. We'll have the phone number right down here. If you know someone who could use a coach in business or sales or ministry, I'd love it if you'd recommend them or give me a call. That's Alec at Coaching the Red Line, 509-999-3305. Thanks so much. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.
Okay.